All right, so have you ever had one of those days where you're just really craving pizza,
Okay, yeah,
but you just don't want to order delivery again? I
totally.
want something, more,
Authentic.
yeah, authentic and like homemade.
Yeah.
Well, good news. That's what we're diving into today.
Well, also.
A guide to making pizza from scratch.
Love it.
You sent this in.
I did. I was intrigued.
I am too, honestly. It claims to be simple and customizable. So,
Those are two really good things.
right. I mean, who doesn't love a good simple recipe?
Exactly. And then being able to customize it to your liking. Come on.
So let's just jump in, starting with the dough, which is kind of like the foundation of the whole pizza.
Yeah, for sure. The base, the heart of it.
Okay, so it all starts with the yeast, right?
Yeah.
And the guide is very specific about using warm water and a touch of sugar.
Interesting.
Now, I kind of get the warm water, like it dissolves the yeast, but what's the deal with the sugar?
It's not just for sweetness.
Oh.
It's actually food for the yeast. Yeah. Yeast is a living organism,
Hmm.
and it feeds on sugar to produce carbon dioxide,
Okay.
which, as you know, is what makes that dough rise.
Oh, so it's like giving it a little energy boost.
Exactly, like a little pre-workout for the yeast.
I love that.
Yeah.
So then the warm water, is that just to like make it a nice environment for the yeast?
Yeah, warm water helps activate the yeast and creates that perfect environment for it to do its thing.
How about like a little yeast spa day?
Exactly. Warm water, sugar scrub, and then it gets to work.
But there's more to it than just letting it rise, right?
Right.
There's also the kneading part, which honestly always kind of intimidated me.
I get that.
I just picture, those baking shows where they're like, going at it.
Wrestling with the dough.
Yeah. So how crucial is kneading, really? And is there like a right way to do it?
Kneading is super important. It helps develop gluten, which gives the dough structure and that elasticity.
Oh, okay.
You're essentially helping those gluten strands align and form a network.
So we're not just mixing.
Now, we're building.
Interesting. And then speaking of rising, I've always found that part kind of magical.
It is magical.
Like you start with this, lump of dough, and then it just like, yeah. What's happening during that time?
Well, the yeast is having a party, munching on those sugars, releasing carbon dioxide gas, and those gas bubbles, they get trapped in the gluten network we just talked about,
Yeah.
causing the dough to expand. So
So it's like the longer we let the yeast party,
the better the flavor.
okay, I can definitely get behind that. Now, once our dough has, risen and done its thing,
You move on to the sauce.
yeah, the heart of the pizza.
And this is where the guide keeps things really simple.
I like that.
Crushed tomatoes, garlic, oregano, salt, pepper. Very classic.
Simple, straightforward, I like it.
But there was one thing I was curious about.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
It calls for a little bit of sugar in the sauce.
Sugar.
Yeah.
Is that normal? I mean, I like things a little sweet, but isn't the tomato already sweet?
It's not really about sweetness. It's more about balancing the acidity. You see, tomatoes can be quite acidic, especially canned tomatoes.
Okay.
And adding just a touch of sugar helps round out the flavors and makes it more balanced.
Like a flavor yin and yang.
Exactly.
I like that. And speaking of balancing flavors, the guide also mentions cooking the garlic just for a minute.
Just until fragrant.
Why such a short time? I always thought you had to cook garlic for longer to mellow it out.
If you cook it too long, it can actually get bitter.
Oh,
So a quick saute is all you need to release those aromatics.
interesting.
You get the flavor without the bitterness.
Okay, so we've got our dough ready. Our sauce is simmering.
It smells amazing.
I know, right? So I guess it's time to move on to the most fun part.
Toppings.
Yes, where things get really creative.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, there are endless possibilities.
Endless. It's fascinating, though, how pizza is this universally loved food.
It is.
But topping preferences can vary wildly. Yeah. Like, in Japan, they love seafood and mayonnaise on their pizza.
Wow.
And in Brazil, green peas are popular.
Interesting. I never knew that. I guess it just shows how adaptable pizza is.
It really does.
But I've got to admit, I'm kind of a traditionalist.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, give me pepperoni and mushroom any day.
Classic. Nothing wrong with that.
Right. I mean, that's the beauty of homemade pizza.
Exactly.
You're in control. You do what you want.
You can stick with the classics or go wild.
Speaking of going wild, the guide mentions using a pizza stone.
Oh, yeah.
Is that, like, really necessary?
It's not 100% necessary,
Okay.
but it can make a big difference.
Really?
The key to a crispy crust is high heat,
Yeah.
and a pizza stone retains heat really well.
Interesting.
So it's like having a mini pizza oven in your kitchen.
So it's like giving the pizza its own little sauna.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
radiates that heat right back up into the crust, makes it nice and crispy.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm getting a pizza stone. Now, once our pizza masterpiece is assembled,
Into the oven it goes.
how long does it need to bake at this, scorching hot temperature?
The guide recommends 475 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
But keep in mind, that can vary depending on your oven and the thickness of your crust.
Right, right.
Best thing to do is just keep an eye on it.
Okay,
You're looking for that beautiful golden brown color, a little char around the edges.
perfect. Okay, so now we pull our pizza out of the oven, and can I dig in right away?
Yeah.
Or is that a bad idea?
It's best to let it rest for a few minutes.
Really? Why is that?
It lets the cheese set a bit, so you don't have a melty mess when you cut it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Plus, it gives the crust a chance to firm up, makes it easier to handle,
Okay, patience is a virtue.
especially when pizza's involved.
As we're talking through this, I'm realizing that making pizza from scratch isn't as daunting as I thought.
It's not as bad as it seems.
It's more about understanding the elements, like the dough, the sauce, the baking.
And then just being creative.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's what makes cooking so rewarding, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's not just following instructions, it's understanding the process and putting your own spin on things.
I like that. Putting your own spin on things.
It really is. It's like taking ownership of the food.
Exactly. So speaking of putting your own spin on things,
This is where it gets really fun.
the toppings.
Yes. I mean, the guide
It's like the blank canvas.
is. It gives you a good foundation, with the dough and the sauce.
Yeah.
But then it's like, go wild.
Go crazy.
Yeah, with the toppings.
So have you, in like your research and stuff, have you come across any kind of unusual toppings?
All the time. Like, did you know that in Japan,
Yeah.
they love putting seafood and mayonnaise on their pizza?
Seafood and mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know about that one.
That's an acquired taste, I think.
I think so. I'm more of a like pepperoni and mushroom kind of person.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Keep it simple.
Can't go wrong with that.
Exactly. But maybe I'll be a little adventurous.
Yeah.
Try something new.
You never know.
Okay, so the guide also mentions using a pizza stone.
Ah, yes.
Now, I've heard about these, but I've never actually used one.
They're great.
Are they like essential?
Not essential, but definitely worth it.
Oh.
They help create that crispy crust.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they retain heat so well.
Interesting. So it's like having a mini pizza oven right in your own kitchen.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sold. I'm getting a pizza stone.
Yeah.
Now, once our pizza's all assembled and topped and everything,
It's ready for the oven.
how long do we actually bake it for?
Well, the guide recommends 475 degrees Fahrenheit
Okay.
for about 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
But, every oven's different.
Right.
And the thickness of the crust matters too.
Makes sense.
So just keep an eye on it.
Visual cues. Okay.
Exactly. Golden brown, a little bit of char on the edges.
Perfect. Now, here's a question, and maybe I'm the only one who does this.
What's that?
I always want to, pull the pizza out of the oven
Yeah,
and just, dig right in.
I get it.
But is that a bad idea?
It's best to let it rest for a couple of minutes.
Really? Why is that?
Gives the cheese a chance to set.
Okay.
So it's not, super melty and runny when you cut into it.
Oh, that makes sense. And probably easier to slice, too.
Exactly. The crust will firm up a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Patience is a virtue, I guess.
Especially when pizza's involved.
I have to say, before we started this whole deep dive,
Yeah.
I was a little intimidated by the idea of making pizza from scratch.
I'm going to hear that a lot.
But now, going through this guide,
It's not that bad.
it's really not. It's just about understanding the steps and then, like you said, getting creative.
And that's the fun part.
It is.
It's not just about following a recipe. It's about, putting your own touch on it,
Exactly.
making it your own.
And isn't that what makes cooking so rewarding?
Absolutely. It's about the journey, not just the destination.
I like that. Going through this whole pizza making process,
Yeah.
it's really more than just following a recipe. It's
Yeah.
almost like a journey.
It is. It's like a culinary adventure.
Yeah. We talked about the yeast,
The meaty.
the sauce, the toppings.
All the different variations.
It's kind of amazing how much goes into making a pizza.
It is. And, I think that's what makes it so special.
I agree, because it's not just about, eating the pizza at the end.
Right.
It's about the whole process.
The creativity.
The satisfaction of making something yourself.
Exactly. And sharing it with others.
Because pizza is meant to be shared, right?
Absolutely. It's a communal food.
It brings people together.
It's like a symbol of togetherness.
And, speaking of bringing people together, I'd love to hear from our listeners.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite pizza toppings?
Or any crazy combinations you tried.
Maybe you've even invented your own signature pizza.
I love that. A signature pizza.
Share your pizza stories with us. Because, at the end of the day,
What's it all about?
it's about the joy of making something delicious.
And sharing that joy with others.
So go forth, dear listeners, and make some amazing pizza.
Happy pizza making, everyone.
See you next time.